Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I invite you to warmly welcome the participants of the 31st edition of the MBA in International Business program. Dear MBA 31, distinguished guests, Meep faculty and staff, and extended Meep community, including those who are following our ceremony on live streaming. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to the graduation ceremony of the 31st edition of the MBA in International Business program. Today is a day of celebration and recognition that has come through hard work, perseverance, and dedication, something especially true of this year and this MBA. Dear participants, I believe that today is an occasion that you will never forget. It is an important day also for your families and friends, as this achievement would have not been possible without their support and their encouragement. Ho il piacere di porgere un caloroso benvenuto anche in italiano alle famiglie e amici dei nostri diplomati che li hanno sostenuto e incoraggiato durante quest'anno e che oggi sono qui per festeggiare assieme a loro questo importante traguardo. Ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to introduce our Dean, Professor Andrea Tracogna, who will now give his speech.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, dear faculty members, Mr. President of the school, Mr. Cirinà, our guest, and dear graduates. I'm very pleased and honored to bring the welcome greetings of the school to this ceremony in this beautiful hall. Once these events were quite customary, and they used to take place in this room very frequently. Not anymore, unfortunately. In the last 12 months, in the year 2021, this is only the second event, the second graduation, which is taking place here. The last one was in last July. It was the graduation of the Executive MBA. Of course, we all expect and hope that we will soon get back to this tradition of celebrating big accomplishments as the achievement and the delivery of the MBA diplomas. A couple of words about the recent past. We have lived quite unusual times, 18 months of challenges and several lockdowns, many limitations, constraints of all sorts. However, in spite of this, we have been working very hard. We kept working very hard, and we have been able to run and complete all our training programs. And not only, but we have also made very important progress along the further consolidation of the school. And we think it's no surprise then that the year 2021 will be remembered and recorded by the school as one of the best performing, one of the most successful years in our history. But let's say something about what we did during the recent past and what we are doing these days. Of course, we are looking forward to getting back to normality. We know that this is not going to be the old normal. It will be a new normal, or as many people say, a next normal. But in waiting for this next normal, we have been experimenting, exploring, and making many investments, huge investments. We have been investing in the new classrooms. We have been investing in new technologies for training. We have been investing in the improvement of facilities and buildings we use in Trieste, this one, but also outside Trieste. We have invested in the establishment of a new state-of-the-art multimedia studio whereby we produce training supports for serving our needs and those of our customers. And last but not least, we have kept investing in the recruitment of new faculty and in research activities, particularly within the newly established demographic lab. On top of this, we have also started a very challenging plan of consolidation, of the strengthening, and of the raising of the standards of this school. And radical changes have been started and implemented this year. All that I'm telling you happened in 2021, so it is currently happening. For example, we have a brand new governance. We have a new president, which is together with us today, which is energizing us in what? In pursuing higher ambitions, higher targets, higher standards. We have a brand new board of directors, which is fully representative of our stakeholders on one side and of our business environment. We have a new and fundamental role, the CEO and managing director, which is held by Professor Nanout, the former dean of the school and the founder of the school. We have a new position of Dean of Executive Education, which is working in strict integration with the school's dean. We are constituting and we are calling next week the first meeting of the Academic Advisory Board, a board that is made up of prestigious personalities coming from academia and the business school community, both at the national level, Meep Polytechnic of Milan, LUIS, at the international level, Rotterdam Business School, IMD, INSEAD, and also at the regional level, because we have in this board also the highest representatives, directors of the three universities of the region, University of Trieste, University of Udine, and the SISSA. We are composing also a new corporate steering committee for the school, which is aimed at driving us towards the provision of educational programs which are in line with the expectations of the business world. We have a new alumni board. You know, of course, how important is the alumni community for the school. We have a new president, which is soon, in a few minutes, delivering a speech to all of us. We have a brand new agreement with the University of Trieste, our parent university. whereby we aim at further strengthening the collaboration between the two institutions and also integrating even further our educational portfolio. Last but not least, we are also establishing, together with leading scientific institutions of the region, Data Science and Artificial Intelligence Institute, which is aimed at carrying out top-level research in the field, but also at transferring knowledge, particularly to the business world. Summing up, we feel very well prepared and very strong, and strong enough to face the post-COVID scenario, also leveraging on our 33 plus years of history. The question is to go where? Okay, so this is a very strategic question. And well, first of all, we are aware that the world of business is changing. New challenges are faced by firms today, such as digital transformation or the adoption of new goals which are based on sustainable development and not only the pursuit of economic value. New criteria are, going to be adopted by most companies, so-called ESG, environmental, social, and governance. Of course, entrepreneurial spirit and managerial skills will remain the driving forces of economic activity. But for businesses to remain relevant and to play the expected role in society, they have not only to, again, pursue and leverage on these, ingredients. They must tackle the macro challenges we face: climate change, eco and green innovation, and people's inclusion. And if these are the changes, businesses are subject to in the years to come, of course, something has to change also in the way we deliver management education, which of course will be more and more hybrid, will be more and more blended, and aligned with the expectations of businesses. And for example, smart working, policies for geographic mobility, and also ways of balancing, innovative ways of balancing life and work. So, of course, a business school has to be compliant with these expectations. And we still are in the process of clarifying what, the future for, management education will be. And a very good opportunity to do so is, coming very soon in this hall again next week. We are hosting the 29th Cman Conference. Cman is the organization hosting the leading business schools in the Central and Eastern European countries, not only, but also other countries. We will have 130 or more delegates participating, mostly in presence, which we are very happy of, and some from remote, coming from some 30 countries, and discussing and debating what the strategic priorities, the innovations in business models, and the training programs to be delivered by the business schools in the years to come. I was referring to strategic priorities. We are redefining our strategic priorities. Of course, there is a continuity with the past, but also necessary changes. We are considering, for example, the establishment of new international partnerships. We are considering the designing and delivering new training programs, new masters. We are including new contents in our programs. We are trying to find new balance and integration between research and training activities. And on top of this, we are also trying to orient the school towards our stakeholders, their expectations, and our idea. We are in the process of defining of a sustainable business school. If these are the changes ongoing, which are quite, if not radical, quite significant, there is for sure something that will remain untouched. That is our full commitment to the MBA program, which we consider our flagship program. Not only because it's the first one on which the school was established, but also because of some peculiarities. The full-time attendance, the international composition of our body of students, and also the variety of contents, which are sort of leveraging on the expertise we have developed in all the areas of knowledge of the school. We believe that this program is the truest expression, if I can say so, of management education, combining the desire for personal and professional growth and development, and in full compliance to our guiding values as a school, which are academic rigor and excellence, business relevance, and also an expected impact on society. We thank you a lot for having chosen Meep for such honorable pursuit. And we are looking forward to continuing working with you together for our common success. And in conclusion to this speech, may I wish you, also on behalf of the school, the brightest possible future, rich of happiness, satisfactions, and achievements. Thank you very much.
Now, I invite the director of the MBA in International Business Program, Tim Baxter, to take the floor.
Well, you've arrived. It's here. MBA 31, this is your day. We promised it a long, long time ago, and here it is, and I hope you're enjoying it. The long list of changes that Andrea Tracogna has just spoken about also included the fact that for the first time I'm here as not associate director but director of the MBA in international business, which is a real honor for me. But it means that before I start my speech, I'd just like to say a couple of thank yous because it's very important. What you see here, ladies and gentlemen, is only part of the story. What's really makes it possible for us to deliver what we hope to deliver to our clients, to MBA 31 in this case, is what happens behind the scenes. And very often, I don't think they get given the level of thanks they should get. So just very quickly, I don't want to waste too much time. It's very precious for you. I'd just like to say first a big, big thank you to Victoria Plez and also to Barbara Vidotto, that as part of the MBA team, dietro le quinte, or behind the scenes, really worked so hard to get this thing going. And then myself and Andrea Tracogna just turn up and speak in public. I'd also like to thank, since we are speaking about behind the scenes, the people who have helped to make today possible. There are so many of them, but I know Rita Zonta has been working since about 3 o'clock this morning, so a round of applause for her, please. And also a number of the technical team guys who are here helping us with There's slides, there's streaming and so on. Again, there are lots of them, but if I'd just like to say thank you very much indeed to Igor, who's up there, making sure everything works, and Ricky, who's down here. Thank you, guys. Okay, and now the speech. I've been told that as a director and not an associate director, I have to cut the humor. I will do my best. So today we're going to look at, very shortly, time to reflect. And what I'd like to do is, that's the name of my brief speech. First thing I'd like to do is to speak about time. What is time? Well, according to Carlo Rovelli, the counting of physical things happening, but we're not going to go from that perspective today. We're going to have a look at the impact of physical things happening on us. So we'll speak about perceptual time, just for about 5-10 minutes today. And that's different. That's how the brain deals, in terms of a mental event, with seconds. So a second is a second, absolutely. But the way we live a second, well, that can change radically. And one way of understanding how we deal with that is to look at what's called the frame time. A frame time is simply, in terms of vision, how many pieces of information you can gather over a certain amount of time, 1 second it is. So what I'd like to do today is have a look at how frame time impacts how we live time. So 20 seconds is always 20 seconds, but the way that we live it may be radically different according to the speeds of various brains. Now, I'm not talking about MBA 31 here, I'm talking about everybody. So I thought what might be interesting is we have a look at how different examples have different abilities of taking information in, or frames per second. And today, 5 examples. We're going to have a look at the pied flycatcher. I don't know how many experts here have pied flycatchers. The blowfly, the escolar fish, the fire beetle, and Neymar da Silva Santos Jr., I've been told, is how you pronounce the final bit. Okay, so we're going to have a look at how quickly all of these various characters are able to get in the information, or frames per second. And to make it a little bit more interesting, we're going to have some audience participation. So I'm going to suggest a certain person or animal. I'm going to suggest the frame, and if you agree with the frame speed, you put your hand up. And then we find out if you're right or wrong, okay? No prizes for anybody, just the absolute respect from these esteemed people up here. So here we go. We'll start with the pied flycatcher. You can see on the right-hand side, you've got the different types of frames per second. And we'll start with 2. Anyone think that the pied flycatcher has 2 frames per second? Nobody, okay. We'll go to 60. Anyone? No, okay. 100, oh, one person there. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Don't be shy. 145. Okay, couple more people are playing. Great. 200. I see the MBA now playing as well. Great, thank you. And finally, 400 frames per second. Okay, one person there. Well, actually, the answer is 145 frames per second. So that's pretty fast. But of course, it has to catch its prey whilst it's flying. So it needs to be able to get lots of information in the same second that we all live. How about Neymar? We'll call him Neymar, we're friends, okay? So let's start with the same thing. How many people think it's 2 frames per second? A couple of people, not Brazilians, but a couple of people say, okay, fine. 60? A little bit more, okay. 145 is out. 200? Okay. 400, and here I expect Brazilians, no one. Okay, well, absolutely, the majority were right there. It is 60 frames per second. In other words, a very different situation compared to how a pied flycatcher lives their seconds. Let's go to the blowfly, ladies and gentlemen. So, here we go. We'll start with 2. Anyone believe 2? No? Okay. 200? Couple of people? Yeah. Maybe some fly experts out there. 400? Looks like the majority are playing, say, 400. It's actually 200. Now, let's just think about this here, ladies and gentlemen. That's radically let's say, they live time in a radically slower way than Neymar, who is representing humanity, lives. That means that when you go into this context and see a low light and dimly lit room, the fly sees it in a completely different way. It's like a strobe disco, yeah? Which also means, finally, you have an understanding why you're never able to kill flies with a rolled up newspaper, yeah? Because it sees it coming so much slower than you think you're actually being able to hit it. Now, the good news is, ladies and gentlemen, that the fly's temporal resolution is very fast compared to ours, but its detailed resolution is very slow. So be aware, if you do kill a fly, it can't read what you're killing because it's very blurred information. I think that's very important to know. Let's get back to our quiz, ladies and gentlemen. Only 2 left. The escolar. 2 frames per second, anyone? Okay, a couple of people there. And the other alternate is 400 frames per second. Okay, well, actually, it's 2 frames per second. It lives at the bottom of the sea, very dark. Don't get much light down there. Not really worth wasting your time on frames per second. It's better to invest your resources elsewhere. Which means we finish off with the fire beetle, which has 400 frames per second. Now, at this point, you could say, who cares? Well, what's interesting here is all of these have what's called a sort of hardwired frames per second. In other words, that's it. That's what you've got. But can you cheat the system? Are you able, through evolution, to be able to use the system for your advantage? And the answer is yes. Let's take the swordfish and the marlin. They've evolved over time to use one of their eye muscles as a heater. And as they go along, if they need it, they can warm up this eye muscle, which warms up the eye and the brain, so therefore increasing the frames per second when they need it. That's not all. If we change from visual to acoustic, here we've got the big brown bat. The big brown bat, very similar thing, is able to use sonar, of course, echolocation, be able to change its fusion rate from 1 to 200 frames per second according to when it needs it. That's fantastic. Now, you could be saying, what about us? Why am I like Neymar, without the money, of course? Why is it only 60 frames per second? And the answer is, well, because actually, in order to have a superhuman eye speed, you'd have to spend an awful lot on energy, which is not a good idea. And you're already spending a lot on energy on your brain anyway, which is much bigger than any of the animals, including Neymar, that you saw before. Okay? So let's have a look at us. Let's try and understand us, because it's important. Well, we weren't actually created to go outside our circadian rhythms, which are more or less 24 hours. And according to the context, the day, there's the sunlight, you're awake. The night, no sunlight, you're asleep. And that's basically how we were evolved. Then electricity arrived, and we were able to increase the amount of activity. Then what we had was the invention of clocks, public time, as Stephen Kern calls it. In other words, suddenly our lives were dictated by clocks that everyone could say, yep, this is the time, and so on. And now we've got a third factor. And that third factor has come along very much linked to coronavirus. Everyone knows the lockdown. Everyone knows what happened in the lockdown. People went to home working. People started to experiment with home working, and now there's hybrid working and so on. Everything I've read is looking at the fact that really it's not going to be the same as before. Let me just show you a quotation linked to this. The lack of division between private life and work life means it sometimes feels like you're sleeping at work. Now, is this from a trade union leader? Is this from an activist? No. This is from the CEO of Microsoft in October 2020. He's saying we have to be careful here, because if you're at home, then basically you are reachable by the company 24/7, in theory. There's no off switch. And if there's no off switch, and we're ignoring our circadian rhythms thanks to electricity, then basically we're increasing the chance of getting into a loop here, like a hamster in a wheel, a rodent running in a wheel. This is from the European Commission. Stress is a state which results from individuals being unable to bridge the gap between the requirements or expectations placed on them. Which means, if I'm expected to be working 24/7, then I feel the pressure of not being able to deliver. Now, in English, we've got a word or a phrase that mentions this idea here, and it's called the rat race. It's called the rat race. I'd like to show you just one 3-second clip from these guys here.
We are different.
This is Mattia. You're going to hear more than 3 seconds from him very soon. But maybe you didn't hear it, but I'll tell you what he said. We are different. You are right, Tia. You are different because you decided, ladies and gentlemen, to take a step back from the rat race. Your decision to invest your time and your money in an MBA. To think. To understand if what you've been doing is what you thought is the right thing to do. And I think that's very, very important. And I'd like to make a link very quickly to what I believe are 3 important factors of motivation for people like you guys and generally for everybody. It actually comes from an old book, 2009, Daniel Pink. And Pink says, look, these days, with changes, with ever more dynamic situations, we need to use these 3 motivating levers. 1, mastery. Your ability to become an expert in something. And I hope you managed to increase that feeling here in, if not all, some of the things that you've been doing. 2, purpose. This is important. A better understanding of why you're doing what you're doing and how that makes sense to you as a person. And finally, autonomy. The fact that you have choices. You can choose to step out of the rat race. You can choose a future that doesn't mean that you are the hamster in the wheel. Putting that all together, ladies and gentlemen, I would say that the MBA 31, well, it can't promise to give you all the answers to these, but it does give you the mindset to help you look for them in the future. Just going to finish off very, very soon. You will be receiving your diplomas over there. And I think what's important is that when you receive your diploma, you start thinking how best to use your time, because that's the most important thing we've got. Enjoy the journey. Thank you very much and congratulations. Forgot my mask.
Dear participants, during this year, we have mentioned many times the importance of being part of our community. Let's welcome a friend, a former MBA participant, and now president of the Meep Alumni Association, Gonzalo Moreno Miceli.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I am thrilled to begin my short speech by congratulating you all, MBA 31. Well done, congratulations. As president of the Meep Trieste Alumni Association, it is a great pleasure to be here with all of you and to provide you with the congratulations of the whole board of the association and the whole community. Your MBA experience has certainly been a long and intense journey, during which, I am sure, you have made several sacrifices. You've done it. You have reached this important milestone in a complex and challenging scenario such as this one of the pandemic. 3 years ago, back on September the 14th, 2018, I graduated from the MBA program in International Business. As a matter of fact, a few days ago, we have shared several pictures and memories with the colleagues of mine at that time, with my friends. That very same day, when I graduated, I looked back and asked myself the following question. Am I the same person I was a year ago? Naturally, the answer was no. I have learned so much from the school faculty, from my colleagues, and also from myself. I'm sure you're all experiencing the very same sentiment of pride at this time. But let me tell you one thing. The journey is far from being over. We invite you to be an active part of our graduates community, which has nearly 3,500 professionals all around the world. The association is structured in about 30 clubs on 5 continents, with representatives and ambassadors who support the board in the development of initiatives and events mainly dedicated to continuous training and improvement, exploration and creation of new business opportunities, moments of networking and social fun and growth, all aimed at enriching the life of all of us and that of our precious network, as well as supporting and strengthening the Meep Trieste School of Management brand in the world. And well, as per internationality, speaking of the board that I have the honor of presiding over and which will remain in office until 2023, I am pleased to share with you some facts that I regard as being interesting. Gender equality, to begin with. Well, actually of the 12 members, we have 7 women and 5 men. The countries represented for the first time in the history of the association are 6: Argentina, Brazil, China, India, Italy, and Mexico, reflecting the global nature of our community, made up of graduates who have come to Meep from 103 countries since 2003, the first year in which the Masters in English took place. And for the first time since the foundation of the association back in 2005, we have greater heterogeneity of representation of the master programs. We have the Master in Insurance and Risk Management, the Executive Master in Insurance and Finance, and the Origini Italia program, alongside the historic MBAs in International Business and Executive MBA. The strength of the Alumni Association relies precisely on sharing, on exchanging different backgrounds and cultures, on experiencing the sense of belonging to a community that certainly has no borders. The personal and professional development of Meepers is both token and testimony of the quality of the lived experience within these walls, and while sometimes remote from home when having some hybrid classes. At the moment, the association is focused on projects mainly concerning giving back to the community, intending as a return of value to our community and to the society we are a part of, the enhancement of diversity as a source of inspiration in our professional and personal lives, and finally, the involvement of new alumni at a global level. Positive energy and fresh ideas are always welcome. Be an active part of our change. We are waiting for all of you. Thanks for your attention, and congratulations again.
Graduations are moments of celebration, but also moments of reflection and confrontation. It is a tradition of this school to invite to such events outstanding personalities of the world of business. Our aim in doing so is to inspire our graduates, but also ourselves, and offer us bright examples of personal and professional achievement, and of compliance to high values, and also examples of leadership and accountability. This year, we are very, very pleased and honored to host Mr. Luciano Cirinà, the Chief Executive Officer of Generali CE Holding, Central Eastern Europe Holding. Let me say something about the profile of Luciano Cirinà. He had an outstanding career within the Generali Group, which he started by joining Deutsche Lloyd in Munich. He then moved to Vienna, where he served as head of the Corporate Risks Division for Austria and CE countries. Later, he was appointed area manager at the company head office in Trieste, overseeing activities in Austria, Central and Eastern Europe, Greece, Tunisia, and the Middle East. In 2007, he was appointed CEO of Generali Versicherung AG in Austria, before becoming head of General Holding Vienna. Since 2013, he has been based in Prague, where he is responsible of the group's business in Central and Eastern Europe. Today, he is also member of the Generali Group Management Committee. We thank a lot Mr. Cirinà for having accepted our invitation, and we kindly invite him to deliver his speech in front of our graduates. So, Mr. Cirinà, the floor is yours.
So let me get the mask off, first of all. Hello to all of you. I'm not really accustomed to talking in academic occasions, but I will try to do my best. But before starting, let me pay tribute to three people here in the room. I will go in alphabetic order because I don't want them to feel offended in any way. So B, Cristiano Borean, who is his fault is that you are bearing with me today. So if you complain, don't complain with me. Cristiano is there for any trouble I might cause in any way today. Thanks, Cristiano. The thank is not because of the invitation, or not only because of the invitation, but because you represent the next generation of managers of our group, and is a proof that by investing in your career from a personal side, going abroad, moving, doing different things, and the company realizing, of course, that there is a talent somewhere, you can reach the very top. The second is Professor Nanut, having been born and grown up in this city. I also attended the University of Trieste, where I had 2 exams with him, and when we discussed about what should I tell you or how to organize, he asked, well, do you have a bad memory of the exams? Because I was tough. Yes, it was tough, but exactly this is in reality what you, me, everybody needs at education, school, university, because only if you have high standards and you have to work to achieve something, you then have the result, work, sport, private life, and whatever. So, and a great compliment, because at the time when you were starting thinking and the first implementing the first steps of the Meep, me, Guido Modugno, Federica, we were students at university, so we could see from sufficiently close the first steps. Incredible journey over the last 3 years, really. Chapeau, and keep it up. An applause, cacchio. So, don't sleep. I think it's more, really, honestly, much more than deserved. Let's come to what I would like to tell you and how I would like to go about it. I've not prepared a speech, and I have no slides. What I think might be of interest is go through what I've been doing in the group and try to touch some aspects, what was relevant, what was interesting, what was key for success, with a caveat that doesn't necessarily it's the way you will do things, because each of us has a different personality, has completely different ideas, ways of doing things. So if you ask me what's the most important advice, don't copy anybody, develop your own way of doing things at whichever level you will be at. As was mentioned, I started working immediately abroad. I started working in Italy after 16 years of service, and that was also more or less by chance. Why this step? This is the beginning of all. I'd been a student at the United World College in South Wales for a couple of years. And in my family, from mother's side, they were all sailors, ship captains, and we have parts of the family in Argentina, Brazil, in the States. So this international view, having uncles speaking 4 or 5 languages, was household culture. And the idea was also to go abroad to have experience, more experience than we would get at home, to see different things, and then God knows what to do later. If you ask, did you have a long-term vision? No. I had a vision that would be my most important first step, and that I pursued really single-mindedly. Of course, many of you have had already this experience of studying or living abroad, and it's already the first hurdle. It's not like knowing everything, and this first hurdle is in work even harder. At the time in the company, there were now and again I put in a German word since at work we mix the 2 languages, and you have to fight your way through. I was lucky to have excellent training, but you have to prove your right to be there. And usually, in most countries, if you're a foreigner, you have to prove it a bit or much more hard than if you're a local. So my first months were there to improve my German, but also to learn everything. And by the way, I'm really grateful to the company. I had a boss who was not iron, the steel lady, who would really push you to do all type of jobs, including at the time PCs did not exist. The computer system was a host where you had this black background with the yellow fields where you put codes and nothing. And started putting policies in the machine, starting what a risk is, starting going to see the factories. I was in industrial fire underwriting. This phase is, and you will see, and you probably have already experienced it, is the most important business card you have. Your reputation, your engagement, the way you go about the tasks, even the most stupid or boring one that are given to you, is decisive. Of course, each of these tasks is not important per se. To reproduce or to put codes in the machine is certainly not exactly what you need when you go further, but you show that you learn how the machine works, and colleagues see that you you're not scared of any task. And you must be curious. I was running behind my more experienced colleague to understand why do you calculate the price for this fire insurance policy for a steel plant in this way and not in the other? Why do you give this and that discount? But this is the first step. Engagement, and be humble. Don't be afraid of the most stupid jobs, of course, if they are a step to the future. And that was, in the end, being really ready to do anything. We had a discussion with Professor Nanut talking about the fall of the wall and then the system change that came about. Well, I was there in '89 in Munich when the wall went down, then the West Germans took over there. it was, you would start in the privatization phase, you start 6 o'clock in the morning or even earlier by car from Munich, you go to DDR, 1 week of having a look at factories with the risk engineer, contacting all these companies, coming back on Saturday night or Saturday morning, and then preparing all this stuff, and it was incredible what was going on. It was incredible, but being ready, okay, we work 18 hours a day, I don't care, I'm there. And that was a key when they chose the new head of that group, because the lady I was mentioning got unfortunately ill. Thank God she recovered. She's now just retired. And the age structure of our unit was very, very experienced people, but close to pension, and then a big group of younger people. Basically, the Germans, despite having been not so friendly at the very beginning, basically elected me before the company did, but they elected me to head of that group and to lead them. It was formalized a few months later, and that was my first challenge. I mean, I was 28 at the time, with a couple of senior people with 40 years of experience in the field being below me, and a hell of a lot of more experience of the others to be taken care of. And another thing I strongly advise you to do, don't follow what people tell you. Not only, it's important to have ideas, but not only to implement it, to be critical. What did I do? I started making sure that those that knew were telling me, were teaching me, even though I was their boss. So we had the Friday afternoon meeting where each area was commenting, giving a suggestion how to improve and do things. Of course, it was not only the formal part, the, say, merenda part is still legendary after so many years. The colleagues, most of them are retired, still remember that as a catalyst or facilitator for this meeting, I was taking care of the red wine and of the food. But it did work. We became, the company at the time was between 30th and 40th place on the German market. Was before the Aachener-Münchner deal. In our area, in 3 years, we became top 20, which was incredible as a performance, and corporate risk is not easy. So we were making a lot of money on top. So be unconventional. If you have not a strength, make it, if you don't have a strength, don't make it be a weakness. Do something to cover it. And the best way, if you have a team, are people. Never, ever choose a team with weak people. You will need, and I wish you really from my heart that you come really high, is you need tough, good, trained people who say their mind. You need to be the orchestrator. You don't need to know anything. Nevertheless, you need the credibility to run a team. So you have to combine the two things, and in those years it worked very, very well. And it was, as a matter of fact, the reason why I was asked then to come to Vienna. Austria in those years was about to join the European market, the European Union. So the tariff market was falling down. And at the time, the holding in Vienna was opening greenfield, what we have now as Generali in Budapest, Croatia, Slovenia, Poland, etc. So I found myself being head of Austria and CE. I had already been in training in Budapest in '91, but it was a challenge to say the least. Having at the time was, I think, only 7 countries, but the first thing did, and it's fundamental. You have already been around the world, but understand not only the markets, so the hard facts markets, etc., products, which is ABC, but the different cultures, mentality, history helps a hell of a lot, because if you say something to a Czech, you will have a different outcome if you say exactly the same thing with the same words, with the same content to a Slovak, let alone to an Hungarian. And if you go further east, it's also completely different. It is important to understand what each culture expects or accepts or wishes from hierarchy, from the way you interact with people, the degree of formality or lack of formality that is part of the culture. Just to give an example, Bulgaria is, you go to a meeting like with your employees, and it's absolutely formal. You can do them, you can crack the most powerful jokes, you will not receive a laugh in return. It is as it is. It's a company, it's formal, it's not a place to laugh, it's not a place, it is as it is. It's neither bad or wrong, it is as it is. Or you have other countries where they expect to be told. And you can involve them before in the idea generation. This is, of course, otherwise you are useless as a boss. But when communicating certain type of instruction, you have to be more digestive. And others, you have to give only a framework because they are extremely resistant to being told what to do. I think of my, I would say, favorite country, Hungary. With the Hungarians, you have to align expectation, you have to align interest, make sure that their goal is your goal, otherwise it's not very easy. If you have done that, and on top of that, for all of the countries, but is for the rest of the world applies the same, if you have a very strong personal relation combining the two, you have done the job. But you have to put a lot of effort in meeting, in learning, and beware. If you have been successful, let's say in Austria, the same recipe will not work elsewhere. It's not always easy, it's not always natural to do, because personally, if you have a success somewhere, you tend, if you don't put your feet back on the ground, you tend to say, okay, this has worked perfectly, let's roll it out. Incredible, tough job, and sometimes to break the ice, it's personal. I mean, I will not spend your time now to tell you the stories of having now and then a rakia or a Slivovic to break the ice, or when I was in Trieste and confronted by our Tunisian partners with some incredibly spicy hot peppers. But in the end, everything works. And this is something Tim was mentioning. You apologize if I use your Christian name, but first of all, we are talking English and it's easier. And you have to remember your goal and your target. So you have to focus your activities for that target. If breaking the ice with the Bulgarian oligarch means I have to drink some rakia with him, I will bloody do it. Or if in Tunisia, to break the ice with my colleagues, they have to test my chili pepper resistance. By the way, despite having been born in Trieste, I have Sicilian origin, so I consider myself sort of Sicilian adopted by Trieste. The poor colleagues died, the Tunisian died on that occasion because they could not cope with the level of hotness I was taking. But apart from this joke, remember always where you want to go and adapt your way to this way. The first big jump, a really huge jump I had in the career was when we had in Austria an emergency. The CEO who was entrusted with making a deep turnaround of the Austrian business. We're talking In 2005, 2006, the business was not going well. The cost ratio was embarrassing, to be polite, and the technical results were extremely deficitary. So the guy was taken by the market. It did not work. And we had the workers' reps from Austria, to get supported by the national trade unions, coming to Trieste by bus with trumpets, drums, etc. And before knowing I would have to face them later, on that day there was nobody of the top management, so I had to go and calm them, which thanks to the excellent logistic facilities of Osteria de Marino, in the end even worked. And the guy resigned, people on strike, and at the time Balbinot was the head of the foreign world of Generali. He said, Luciano, you have to go and you start next week. It was a jump. To be honest, not even my mother would have entrusted me with that job, to be honest, at that time. I mean, once it went well, everybody saying, well, I knew it. It was a real big moment where, to be honest, personally, I was confronted with, I say, fear or worries quite strongly. Just one comment on fear. In life, there is nobody who has no fear. If somebody says, I don't fear, bullshit. Sorry for the unorthodox explanation. What is key, and in job is even more key, is to manage the fear, to use rationality and your self-belief to manage it. And you will face it with big decisions, but also small decisions, because the most important, or one of the most important things, if you are in charge of anything, even of the bowling club, is to take decisions. And allow me, I'm a couple of years older than you, it's rare good. One, if I have to make a criticism to younger generations, there is a lack of people who are ready to put their face, have guts, and take decisions. So these, make sure you are not in that category. You can make mistakes, it's normal. Everybody, I've done mistakes enough, I can tell you. I will not, because now is a nice occasion, but each of us does mistakes. And some are even eclatant on when you have to choose who to give a job. That person or the other person, you get it wrong. These are those you remember for the whole of your life. And you really feel bitter about it. But you have to manage fear, manage yourself in order to put yourself in the position to take a job. And in Austria was, I think, unconventionality, the name of the game. As I was mentioning, the workers' reps and trade unions were on strike. They had sued us on a restructuring because it was the PPF deal, so we were selling off the CE part of the business to the new holding in Prague. And as a result of that, on top of the necessary restructure, some jobs would fall out. On paper, we would have won, or we should have won that court case, and we could have enforced. But despite being young in the position, I took two decisions. One was to change the whole management, which was, by the way, one of the preconditions I had agreed with Balbinot as a precondition to take the job, a full change of management. And then we negotiated completely informally with the workers' reps and trade unions, the new cuts, which in the end numerically were even by far higher than what my predecessor had wished to, but with certain agreements on how to choose, how to structure. And was very much against head office at the time. Head office said, look, you have the labor law on your side, crush them. And I decided, look, you cannot crush your own people. What does it bring to win against your own people? Because in the end, I mean, industrial relations, you are two parts of the same family. Of course, we have different roles. One of my old workers reps in Austria, who is, thank God, just retired, used to say, Mr. Cirinà, you are my social enemy. But he's still representing a certain percentage of your own people. So you have to come to terms and find your way within this framework and don't try to get rid of him, because the next could be even worse, by the way. And interesting was the key restructuring from completely, fully decentralized unit to a, let's say, more controlled company. Was we kicked out consultants. People that know me know that I tend to be a bit allergic to consultants. I need clarity for the histaminic part. And I decided to do it fully in-house with our own people, involving the people. Clearly, you give the targets, it must come out this and this, because otherwise the propensity to change in the human being is not very high. And involving the line people. So the old colleagues from the department say, look, you remember when we were all head of departments, you were complaining the management doesn't understand, they don't see what we are struggling with this and that. Now you bring the ideas, we have to go there and there, but you put on the table what you've been complaining for many years about. And on certain parts, especially on opening times, call center, and sort of availability from clients, I involved the workers' reps. Because if you go with a new opening time and traceability of your operations in a country like Austria, which is not so far from Italy, you have to negotiate it with the trade unions. You don't come about it. So I said, well, I mean, I have to waste time, a long time to negotiate. These guys are within the company. As a matter of fact, I knew some of them personally. They were even very good people on the business. So we took some, of course, much longer to get the job done. But it took, really, and it's not a joke, 45 seconds to get it approved when we met officially the trade unions. So think out of the box. Be what you think is right in that moment. Listen to many opinions, as many as possible. Know what you have around, but do what fits your personality, your way of doing things. And one last, because I think I'm beyond any conceivable time limit, but Cristiano, when he invited me, knew that. I don't know if he told to Professor Nanut and to the rest, but usually when we have our quarterly meetings, each region is represented by the boss, and the boss starts with a presentation. And there are bets in head office, this is no joke, on how long I will take on these bets. And I'm sure that compliance is still working on it. Maybe they include also our Collegio Sindacale, because there were rumors that at the last meeting there was a collusion between me and Cristiano in order for some colleagues to lose some money. And I finished with 29 minutes instead of 30. The last point is diversity. It is very, of course, now these days is you are not a manager if you don't talk about diversity. It is everywhere. I come from the other side, so I look at it why it is so important, not because somebody says it's important. It's importance for the performance. And I'm not saying women, it's age, nationality. The first thing I did when in 2013 Mario Greco started buying back the minorities in the PPF, we did it on 2 rows, but in 2013 he said, Luciano, you have to take over. By the way, you are one of the few people that knows the partner, Mr. Kellner, so you. And I arrived, and we had a holding which was hardcore, really hardcore check, mainly from PPF, from the partner, so not so friendly, let's say, not a friendly environment. And some generally like living like, these films of the fort of the Foreign Legion in the Sahara Desert, surrounded by the hostile Bedouins. So more or less was that their life in Prague at the time, with some quite high degree of conflictuality despite incredibly positive economic results. So the first thing was Czech Republic is running like a machine from an economic perspective. The rest, no, because of this cultural block between holding and the rest. So the first job, which we are still pursuing, was to make the holding really multinational, a representation of the region. And at that moment, we have 21 nationalities. We went a bit further than the region, but that was a quantum change in the relationship with the countries, because they could see, okay, some of our people can go to the holding. When I have a problem, of course, if there is a problem, the Montenegrinians calls in general first the Montenegrin to ask who do I have talked to if I have this problem. But in the end, as I was saying before, it must work, and a performance of people that bring you different elements. Nationality is certainly one strong element if you have cross-border operations, but it applies also to making a team. There is nothing worse than a team of people thinking the same way. You end up having yes men, which is the death of any company. So now I've spoken to you so much that my tongue is almost wetting. And I think I close with take whatever you think it's worth. Really, do not forget, take courage in your hands and look for the future. Work for it, work hard for it. Congratulations for reaching this step. And I do not know if it's foreseen or allowed or whatever, but if you have any questions of any sort, I think we can do it. It's up to you now. Don't tell me you are shy, because already looking at you, you don't look very shy, even if you have the mask. Censorship. Okay, so many, many thanks and all the best.
Dear MBA 31, now is time to officially celebrate all your efforts. I invite Professor Tracogna and Professor Baxter to join me in presenting your diplomas. On behalf of the Faculty Committee, the school is pleased to confer the MBA in International Business degree to the following. From Argentina, Wenceslao Francisco Cáceres. From Brazil, Campos Jansen Campos Cremasco. From Italy, Alessandro Cantarutti. From Italy, Simone Oriol Carganico. From Paraguay, Aida Raquel Carmañola Duarte. From Brazil, Willy Ferro Sartusi. From Italy, Valeria Forner. From Chile, Miguel Ángel Giuliano Valdés. From Peru, Sandra Vanessa Larco Martinelli. From Italy, Lorenzo Lastraioli. From Italy, Michela Ligioi. From Slovenia, Dominic Marko. From Italy, Andrea Martini. From Italy, Michele Martino. From Italy, José Rosario Mauriello. From Italy, Mauro Pirri. From Turkey, Galdan Ceren Tapan Dewalske. From Greece, Nikolaos Vavdinos. The school is pleased to confer the MBA in International Business degree with honors to the following. From Italy, Laura Bertolini. From Hungary, Diana Janisek. From Italy, Paolo Marizza. From Philippines, Jose Luis Mondoñedo. From Italy, Mattia Ruisi. From Italy, Giuseppe Salerno. The school is pleased to award the MBA in International Business degree with high honors to the following. From Italy, Paolo Daltoso. From Italy, Giorgio Misiagia. congratulations to you all. And now it's your turn. On behalf of MBA 31, please welcome Mattia and Wenceslao.
Okay. Hello, everybody here on site and the people online. I knew I wanted to say something. I was not sure about what to say. And I came up with the idea of sharing with you 3 valuable lessons I learned this year while doing this MBA. To tell you about these lessons, I'm going to tell you 2 stories. The first story is about a time I got really scared. And I'm not talking about filling your pockets and not touching your phone kind of scared, but I'm talking about heavy breathing, adrenaline, and heart beating fast and strong. It happened exactly 1 year and 2 weeks ago when I realized I was coming here to Trieste to do the MBA, and I was leaving my home. I left my mind rumble and think about all the stuff I was living back there and all the things that could go wrong here. So yes, I was scared. And the lesson for me was quite clear. It's okay to be scared of big changes. Big changes must bring along this fear within, because it means we have something to lose. It means we have something to win on the other side. So the message would be, don't let this fear get in between what you want to do and where you're standing right now. The second lesson and the third lesson are both from the same story. And this second story is that I always try to think about myself as a very independent person, as a very autonomous person. I always thought that the more autonomous I could be, the better. And I tried to live all my life like this way, and all of these ideas and ways of living fell off the shelf this year, because I never had to ask so many times for help like I did this last period. I don't know how many times there were, but probably 1,000. And the incredible thing is I asked 1,000 times for help, and those 1,000 times I got positive responses. It blew my mind. So the second and third lesson here are, don't be afraid to ask for help if you need it. And on the other side, don't underestimate how much weight you can take out of somebody's shoulders by giving a hand. When I got here, I couldn't speak any Italian. I had a lot of you guys speaking on the phone for me, telling me, I will pick you up, I will join you, I will go with you. These kind of things, don't underestimate them, because are very important to the other person. So I wanted to say thank you. Finally, just wish you the best of luck on whatever comes next for you, and say goodbye, hello to my family that is online. So thank you all, guys. Thank you, Meep, also. It's been a great year, and I think we are a lot much better persons, or we grew a lot in this year, and it's in part because of you too. So thanks.
Well, I'll be shorter, because I know you want to have a toast right now. First of all, it's wonderful to see some of the people that we only see virtually, but still we miss the 2 guys, Lorenzo and Mauro. Finally we did it, guys. We did it together. I wanted to start speaking about lesson as Wednesday did, but at the beginning, at the end of it, the most important lesson I learned in this year was the importance and the strength of a group. I found such a great strength by sharing this experience with you people. And thank you, Tim, for spoiling my speech. As I said, we are so different, yet we are connected by at least one trait, the bravery. The bravery to switch our life completely in a moment. And we shared. We share a lot. We share joy. We share anger. And this sharing was one of the major pushes I had to go on. Even during the red zone, which for me was hard because it was the first time I was really alone, outside my home and away from my roots. And I understood that I cannot do everything alone. No one can. And my best version came out only when surrounded by people like you. We have been greater than the very period that we passed through. And my wish for every one of you is to continue to bring support to anyone close to you, as I received during this year. Even if you didn't know, everyone has gave me something to go on with a smile on my face. And even if you fall, because everyone does, take that as a lesson. A great person once told that we fall to learn to pick ourselves up. That person was Thomas Wayne, and his son became Batman, so I take this as a good advice. Jokes aside, now we can say goodbye to each other, but I will bring a piece of you, of every one of you, in everything I will do from now on. Remember where you came and focus on what you meant to be. Thank you all for this year, and let's toast together.
Thank you, Wense and Mattia, for your words. Every year, when I start working on the organization of the final dissertations and the graduation day, I reflect on the intense year passed together and come up with a number of takeaways from the time that we shared. In particular, this year, thanks to the school's successful launch and implementation of the hybrid formula, I had the chance to be constantly present in the classroom and feel deeply immersed in your everyday activities. I felt, like Tim was saying before, like being behind the scenes. And this allowed me to understand the MBA experience from a different perspective. As in the theater, behind the scenes is where things really happen and where we learn. By being online and monitoring the lectures, I could go beyond the learning of content and closely follow your engagement and participation, understand your doubts and fears, observe you struggling with a very demanding calendar and workload, watch you agree and disagree, failing and starting over again, constantly adjusting to finally overcome difficulties and celebrate your successes. Together with the knowledge that we gave you, you learned how to approach complexity and uncertainty, and how to manage new situations and problems. You asked for help and advice without being ashamed, and shared your experiences and time with your colleagues in a constructive and selfless way. I watched you become a group rather than a sum of individuals, developing friendships and creating a network. You became conscious that people is what really makes the difference. In fact, one of the biggest challenges of an hybrid classroom is to create a sense of community among everybody in the group, no matter where each of us is. Have you realized that not even once we were all together in the same room? Not even today. But fortunately, remote activities are not just about using the right technology, but also about building a culture of trust. And trust and sense of belonging, collaboration between each other and encouragement, together with engagement and commitment, were all important elements that helped our group bond and therefore manage to accomplish a common goal. I would like to thank each one of you for your engagement and dedication. But allow me to make a particular mention to Valeria and Wenceslao, our class representatives. Thank you for being a bridge between the class and us. And to Andrea Martini, who played an invaluable role as teaching assistant. Thank you, Andrea, for being so effective and professional. For examples of extraordinary commitment, let's not forget our time zone warriors, such as Vanessa waking at 3 o'clock in the morning for the first few months, or Jose, who finished most of his lectures deep into the night. On that note, it gives me great pleasure to welcome Jose here today, along with Nico, who has also managed to arrive here in person to celebrate this special occasion. It's a real pleasure to meet you real in person today, Nico. Dear graduates, the MBA experience that you shaped together will always be part of you and will last far beyond this ceremony. From now on, you can look back with great memories and look forward to broader horizons. It has been a pleasure and honor to work with you. And on behalf of myself and everybody at Meep, I wish you all the best in your professional careers and personal lives. I will miss you, and keep in touch. I hope to see you in the near future. Thank you. But before concluding our ceremony, I'd like to welcome the participants of MBA 32 that will be starting their program on the next days. We have a tradition to respect, a tradition that started right at the beginning of the MBA graduation ceremonies, where le baton is passed from one MBA generation to the following one. And in order to do so, I ask for the help of my colleague Barbara. And I invite Camila on behalf of MBA 32 and Diana on behalf of MBA 31. Please join me.
Formal, let's say, gift to the new classroom that will be starting in a few days. So, two ladies, the baton goes from MBA to
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, our ceremony has reached the end. Please join us in the pavilion downstairs for a final toast. But first, I invite our graduates to come here for the official photo. Thank you and congratulations again.